What is going on, guys? This is the Empowered People Podcast, where each and every week we tell, share, and listen to stories that are meant to motivate us to action.
How long are we going?
Dude, it's game time, bro. We're going
Joe
as
Rogan
long
style?
as you keep talking. That is a fact. Guys, what is up? I'm going to do a little intro here, but the guest is already in studio sitting here. Got a full-length show today. Pretty excited about this one. I've had a bad day, man, leading up to this. A lot of bad news, freaking failed expectations, just sucking. Seriously, gosh dang, it's one of those days. But can't let it get you down. Got to keep moving forward. Definitely. What do we say? That we only believe that success, opportunity, education only comes when you're willing to get up and move. My kids know that. Their coach-pitched baseball team knows that attitude and effort matter most. And when I think about attitude and effort, there's only one person. There's a lot of people, actually. I was going to say there's one person that's better than me at every single thing, attitude and effort related, but there is a lot of people. Well, one of them happens to be in studio, and it's not Matty P, though he is a close second.
I'm here, though.
He is here. It's Brennan Kelly. Brennan Kelly is my brother-in-law, married his sister, and what? What'd you say?
That wasn't me.
Matt, don't interrupt. No, Brennan Kelly is in studios. Brennan is one of the coolest people I know. I've known him since he was a freaking little long-haired little kid getting into trouble, homeschooled, jumping freaking doll houses with a snowboard. Dude, he homeschooled. I'm doing the air quotes right now. He did not homeschool. He freaking no-schooled his way to a great life, a great career, a great family, and is one of just the coolest people in the world. So I think you're going to get a lot out of this podcast. Why don't you say hello, Brennan? Maybe a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, totally.
Start asking questions.
Well, it's funny because me and Josh are like each other's biggest fans, I feel like. Like, I'm always following everything he's doing. He's always following everything I do. We just really encourage each other along the way. So I appreciate everything you said, but then it's reciprocated to you.
Yeah, but well, stop talking so quiet and get those jitters out, dude.
Right.
He made himself nervous when he came in.
Dude,
here.
you guys have been running around like crazy. I've been waiting in here, and freaking Josh is like doing business deals and stuff, and I'm just like sitting in the office like, "Oh, we gonna start?"
Yeah, Paul freaking straight came in, and we had a executive meeting while he was sitting here about something that was going wrong on a project, and Brennan's like, "Man, should I get out of here?" All the while he's setting up a tripod and a video camera, because I know that you have a podcast, or you're launching a podcast.
Yeah,
right?
we just launched last week. It's nothing big, but it's for my personal training company that I started, Host Fitness. So me and my buddy Brian are kind of just recording about nutrition and different things that we got going on.
Yeah, and if you couldn't see Matt, is he pretty jacked? We did a workout together. What
You
was
Jack
that like?
City. Yeah, he's jacked. That's why I thought he was older than me, bro. I was like, dang, anybody looking like that, dude, has to be older than me. Like, I'm going to get there someday. But nah, he's like 5 years younger than me or something.
I know it's ridiculous. Yeah, he made it. We did a scaled down workout of whatever he was doing. But man, it wasn't always like that.
No.
And so like I kind of referenced, dude, you kind of, were raised homeschool. So why don't you just bring it back to the early years? Because high school wasn't your best friend.
No, definitely
you weren't
not.
the Brennan Kelly sitting here right now. So kind of take us back and talk about that a little bit.
Definitely not. Yeah, it's funny you made mention of the snowboarding and stuff, because I grew up big family, 6 siblings, Bridget, Josh's wife, being one of them, and then I have 3 younger brothers that we grew up super tight. Being homeschooled.
Bro, you have 2 younger brothers.
2 younger brothers.
You said 3.
3 brothers total, 2 younger brothers.
Gotcha.
But growing up being homeschooled, it's funny, like, yeah, we, as Josh was saying, fast forward through the VHS videos and just like go out and snowboard all day, play around. But coming into high school, so I went to school, I was kind of in and out a little bit of family trouble. I'd get sent off to live with a sister here and there. Tried private school out a little bit, didn't really work. My mom decided to let me go to public school at 10th grade, and it just, like, everything that high school is, appearance and social status, all the things that aren't important looking back at now became the most important to me, and kind of dropped sports. Like Matt was just asking me like what sports through high school, and it's like kind of embarrassing because I'm like so into fitness and sports now, but it's like I didn't do anything. I dropped out of all sports in 9th grade because I wanted money, wanted a job, wanted to be able to afford a car because my parents weren't going to buy it for me, wanted to like be able to have some sort of status in high school.
You said you wanted a job, but what was your first job?
Barista, cup to go, dude. Well, I mean, working, that was my first like actual job. But growing up, my dad had the tree spade business. So we were always working about, cup to go, drive through coffee,
dude, it's
barista.
Bro, it's a drive. Have you seen it, Matt? Dude, in Kearney, in it was Big V, the local grocery store's parking lot, right? Big V. They dropped like this outhouse-sized drive-through coffee shop that could barely fit one person in there.
It was a spot, though.
Dude, I don't know how it lasted. And they hired you, the high-quality barista you were.
I went through some barista training.
Oh, did
it was
you?
where it's at.
But I know that like dude, you were small. You weren't super like physically jacked. I don't know what it is about you Kelly boys. It doesn't grow until you hit 21. But like, was that part of the reason you dropped out of school, or not dropped out of school, but got out of sports?
Yeah,
big enough,
I think. I mean, I always basketball was always like my passion, and obviously being short doesn't really help. But then it was also just the fact like a lot of the kids in school that were in sports, their parents were providing a car for, or and it was the household that I grew up, I was kind of embarrassed of, and so I wanted to be able to get out on my own.
Gotcha.
And that's what was more important, like getting a girlfriend. My wife Indy, she worked in the shaved ice place right across the street from Cup to Go, so we were two little shacks in the Big V parking lot. But I don't know, that's just kind of where my perspective on life kind of went wrong, and I started going down paths that I would rather have avoided looking back.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of makes you who you are. And I mean, I want you to touch on that a little bit, because what I remember was, and I think I said it kind of joking, but it was like, dude, when people graduated and they took their caps off and threw it in the air, by the time it hit the ground, Brennan had like got married, joined the Coast Guard, and moved the heck out of Kansas City. Like literally that fast. It was kind of like a rapid fire thing. Like, talk a little bit about that, because like, number one, thank you for your service. Like I've said that a million times to you and Sean and Michael.
Yeah.
3 of my brother-in-laws all served. And my business partner, Paul. So it's a really cool thing. But like, what was it for you that just kind of pushed you out to grow up real quick?
Right. It was just dead end after dead end. So I got in high school, when things weren't working out for me, I definitely, I have to touch on this because it's unavoidable to, tell what the path led to. But I got into drugs pretty hard and was addicted to pills, and just like kind of living that party lifestyle. I graduated early from high school. So I graduated at half semester, and I was only going like half the day that previous year. So I was like just not even in school my senior year, basically, and got an apartment in Liberty, and it kind of became like a party place, and my roommate was doing drugs, and we just kind of were like going down this whole path that I didn't want to. One day I kind of hit rock bottom. It's funny, I like through sharing the story of like my journey, I probably had multiple, or I did have multiple rock bottoms. This was first rock bottom. My roommate bailed on me, just left me in the apartment, stole a bunch of my stuff, and I kind of just had nowhere to go. And my mom's like, why don't you join the Coast Guard? Like, my older brother was in the Coast Guard. And I'm like, I don't have anything going for me, because my parents never talked to me about college or what future would look like. And that just wasn't even on my radar. I was so reactionary. I was never thinking ahead. I was never planning ahead. I never had goals or aspirations. It was just what in this moment is going to make me look good to my peers. And that's like kind of how I functioned. Like, looking back, it's like pretty pathetic.
Well, dude, you had, right. So it's funny to hear you say that, because you always had things that were super interesting to you.
Yes.
Like, you had how many pets growing up?
Yeah. So
you were like super into animals.
Right. And I know where you're going with that. And all the things that were cool to me, I guess weren't cool.
You might know where I'm going with it, but the listeners don't.
Okay.
So where am I going with it?
So I had like growing up, I had a lot of reptiles. I was super into sports. I was super into family. But when those things didn't correlate to high school, like, and they didn't transfer over and make you look cool, like, you would get made fun of for having a bunch of reptiles and breeding bearded dragon. Now I'm like freaking proud of that. Like, that's awesome.
Guys, when we say, we watched a home video, when we say he had a bunch of reptiles, dude, he probably had like 23 iguanas, multiple bearded dragons, freaking 7 dogs, a stray cat that he was like side hustling, breeding on the side.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was a lifestyle.
But I guess the reason I bring that up is because like it's funny. I think like a lot of times people get told follow their passions right now. And when I look back on your life and I think about not the drugs, which I didn't know the extent of that stuff. So I mean, thanks a ton for sharing that. And I mean, there's rock bottom's never a fun thing to talk about. I mean,
the extent. My mom had Josh come and find my alcohol bottles.
Well, I didn't know about the drugs, bro. Yeah. Like if I learned anything growing up from my childhood, it's like how to hide alcohol. And like,
dude, it was a good spot.
Bro, you were such an amateur. It was in the mechanical room, in the HVAC room behind the heater. Like, bro, I found it in like 3 seconds.
Dude, it was like in the freaking behind the drywall. Like,
I found it in no time. Yeah, that's what I should have been. I should have been one of those border patrol guys.
Seriously.
Checking your car or something. No, but what I was saying is like everyone gets told to follow their passion. And like you going up in your childhood, you had a lot of passions. But if you don't have a direction for that passion, if you don't know like, oh, you're really into animals, you need to like really pay attention in science and you need to enroll in these colleges, have good zoology degrees or whatever it is. Like it's got to be passion coupled with direction to actually get somewhere is kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Totally. Yeah. The direction piece was missing big time. And, as mentioned before, my home life wasn't the best. I'm not going to dog on anyone, but I have my dad's changed a lot and we have a great relationship now, but growing up, it wasn't good. And, so I was lacking the direction piece, cause if I would have had, that's what I try to be now for like my nieces and nephews. Like I try to be that direction piece, like the opinions of these high schoolers like does not matter. Like you're going to graduate and like that isn't even going to be on your radar.
So you say that you didn't have direction, but do you think you would have listened to them if they would have told you back then?
I mean, if you know how it is, like if you have like, I hope my daughters are going to listen to me because I've put time and effort into their lives, from a young age. And so hopefully our relationship will grow. But I also think everybody has to go through something where they kind of find themselves. So, that's not something I really think about. I don't look back and like analyze would it have been different with this, because I knew I had to go through it to get to where I am now. So maybe it's better that I went through it in high school. I don't know. That's just a question better left not answered, I guess.
Well, so so then answer the question though. What was different was it just that you didn't have anything going for you when your mom said, "Hey, why don't you join the Coast Guard?"
Yeah. So it was rock bottom. I was I remember specifically what happened. Like everything was stripped out of my apartment. I didn't have any money. I was probably like coming down or whatever it may be. And my mom's like a bunch of my friends from high school and stuff are off at college, and she's just like, why don't you join the Coast Guard like your brother did? I went into the recruiting office. My recruiter was dope. Freaking like got me out of my lease, like pulled some strings and like maybe has some fake orders. Oh no, But anyway, I got out of there, and then as you said, like things just like kind of rapidly unfolded, and I had to grow up really quick because it went from being just doing whatever I want to graduating. I got married 2 months after graduating boot camp. Boot camp definitely changed my life. I have a lot of points through my life where I had like mini conversions. I feel like that kind of set the trajectory to transform my life and turn me into the man I am now. And definitely the first one was boot camp, because it was tough, mentally grueling. Anyone who's been through any of the branches boot camps, like it's no easy task. Especially when you're 18.
I haven't been through it, so I'd love you to just talk about it. I mean, I haven't. Matt, did you go to? I feel like you could have been an ROTC kid. Were you an ROTC kid?
How do I?
Because your dad was in the military. So
no, my dad.
He was a rebel.
My dad was like, "Do not join the military," which I thought was really weird, but he was in it, so I was like, "All right, I'll probably gotta take your word on this one thing."
The really cool guy in Major Payne that can like beatbox and spin the gun real fast. Remember that movie Major Payne?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Isn't he deaf?
Yeah, that's right. He's deaf, but he like sings and dances and spins the gun good. That's what I could picture you as in the ROTC program.
I'm the dude that gets punched in the throat, right? Like Bam Bam Bigelow or whatever he is.
So anyways. So you're talking to two people that have never been through boot camp. So I mean, just like what is it? Like what was like first day you show up, bro?
So I mean, as an 18-year-old, it was the hardest thing I had to do in my life at that point. We'll talk about rescue swimmer school. Like boot camp doesn't even compare to rescue swimmer. Boot camp's 8 weeks, swimmer school 6 months. But as an 18-year-old, not knowing anything different, never been tried mentally like that. I was in survival mode a lot as like a child, just with our home life and stuff. But it was never at this amount of just like, as soon as you get off the bus, it's like they're yelling at you, it's everything has to be organized. But like it really forced me to grow up quick. Like that 8 weeks was like it was a boot camp to become a man, really, was how I kind of look at it. I turned 19 while I was in boot camp. And then, just afterward, like upon graduation, my family just saw a different side of me, that they hadn't seen before.
And so did you talk to Indy, your wife, while you were in boot camp? Like, I don't remember. Did you get engaged before you left? Or were
no,
you like,
we had kind of talked about it because me and Indy had been together since we were 15, been through a lot of bumps in the roads with, my addiction problems and stuff, but she always stuck by my side. So I always knew that it was going to work out with her. So it was kind of just expected from me, and then she kind of already knew it was going to work as well. So whenever we'd write letters, and of course you're all emotional in boot camp. It's kind of like it's a funny story because it happens so much. Like kids go through boot camp, they're all like missing their family, they get married or underway. It's like a common thing that happens in the military, and then like people will make bets on how long it's going to last because like you're at an emotional high when you're in boot camp and you're lonely and whatever. You just make a rational decision. So basically, but I mean, for us, it worked out, obviously. So all the haters, like, they were betting against me on the boat and stuff, like, whatever. But
yeah. How many people did you have at your wedding?
Like 6
like
or something.
6?
8,
3
maybe.
3 of them were me, Bridget, and Cooper. All right, I just want to point that out.
It was courthouse.
Yeah, but I mean, we definitely believed in you. Indy's an amazing person. That it is really cool to see. How long have you guys been married?
Man, it'll be 10 years this summer.
And you've been stationed freaking 3 different places? How many places?
Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, and Oregon.
Which is Oregon's currently.
Yep.
Okay, so you kind of hit on it. So you're in the Coast Guard, you're growing up, you're married. Was Ari, was your kid inspected?
Yeah,
like when did swimmer school enter your mind?
So basically, okay. What happened? I got stationed on a boat. My whole goal of joining the Coast Guard was I wanted to save lives. Like that's always been a passion of mine. I'm for Enneagram nerds, I'm a 2, which is a helper, and that's like kind of like what I live my life on, is just wanting to help people. So I joined wanting to be a rescue swimmer. That's what I told my recruiter. I got into the Coast Guard, when I was 18 and was on a boat. Didn't really have the time to train. I was in Detroit, so it wasn't like we were underway on the lakes a lot. I didn't have a lot of pool time. So I decided to go bosun mate instead of rescue swimmer, which is just another rate. It's driving boats and whatnot. After that, I got a small boat station where I was able to train for rescue swimmer school. And for anyone who doesn't know what rescue swimmer school is, it's like the elite of the Coast Guard. It's the Navy SEALs of the Navy. It's, schools attrition rate is like 80%.
What does attrition mean?
Fail out. Yeah.
Okay.
So like, for instance, my class, we graduated 1 kid from my original 24 that started. So it's like, they just drop like flies. It's 6 months of just torture every day. I was explaining it to Matt earlier. Basically, it's a multi-million-dollar pool, which they can simulate hurricane force, like waves and lightning and whatever. It's pretty intense. So anyway, I wanted to do that.
Since day one.
Yeah. And I didn't really know why. Well, I did know why, is because I wanted to help people, but the real why hadn't been, like, the why behind the why hadn't been, I haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? Like, it was like I was doing it to save people, but I think there was like some pride involved also. I wanted people to look at me because I just hadn't had that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's interesting that you said the why behind the why, because it's like Simon Sinek like stopped short.
Exactly.
Like, start with the why of the why.
Yeah.
Write that book, man.
Right. So going forward, I was training for swimmer school. I knew swimmer school was going to be intense. I was training in the pool every day. I get to swimmer school and I felt like I was physically ready, but my mental was not there at the time. I was 23. I hadn't been tried this hard before. And I have, like, college. I had like a Stanford swimmer who like I guess like tested for the Olympics with Michael Phelps and some college water polo player, and I'm just like,
A dude from
this
Kearney,
kid,
Missouri.
yeah, right, this kid, and like these dudes are just lapping me in the pool, but I just kept saying like I'm not quitting, because they have the bell that you ring, when you quit, and like kids are just from day one, kids are just dropping like flies. Like we're in the pool, we're swimming across the pool with this brick, the instructors are splashing you in the face, being like, that brick's my baby. If it touches the water, you're out of here. The kid in front of me and the kid behind me both like were just done, like day 2, like just out of here. And we were down to 10 people within 10 days or something.
Wow.
Just so intense, and I was just in survival mode. Like
so
I was
is
just
it 6 months you like go there and you stay there? Like you don't get to see Indy?
Yeah, you stay there.
No weekends off.
I snuck Indy, so Indy wasn't supposed to be up there. I snuck her to the area. She was like a live-in nanny with someone, so I would like kind of like, we were allowed to, but it like wasn't recommended. So I would like go out on the weekend and see her and whatnot. But yeah, but it was pretty much just intense 6 weeks. Your final test is at 4.5 or 6 months. Your final test is at 4.5 months. So that's kind of like, when you've made it, So if you make it to 4.5 months, you're in. But anyway, it's just like, it was so grueling. And
was there a lot of like, was there any like written like memorization like tests, or is it all just like get in the pool and tread water?
Okay, so I'll take you through like, well, what a week looks like is Monday, Wednesday, Friday are pool days, pretty much all day in the pool. You might have like one classroom, so there's a little bit of memorization and stuff, but they're just trying to break you mentally the entire time. There's a couple times throughout the course where they'll come and wake you up in the middle of the night and you go and swim out in the river. And so I mean, it's similar. Like I know Coast Guard isn't as recognized, but it's similar to like Navy SEAL, like the training that you see on YouTube or whatever.
Is it just like swim laps back and forth?
No, it's a lot of it is buddy towing, because you're training to jump out of a helicopter and rescue people in the water. So a lot of it would be towing. We call it buddy towing, which is towing a person on your hip with really large fins. And the fins, like if you're not used to wearing them before school, like kids literally like develop like bone spurs and like holes in their feet, and you just have to push through. And it's kind of like an old dog mentality. Like all the instructors had been through it. So like, they're like, you're going to go through it. Like we went through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think now they're trying to take like a smarter approach to it. But back when I was going through, it's just like, you just push through.
Okay. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pool.
Yeah. So pool, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday and Thursday, they called regen days, like regeneration days, but like their regen was like an 8-mile run, followed by like a little like light workout, which they would call, and then night pool. We had night pool for the first like 2 months. So it wasn't a regen day at all. But that's what they called it. So yeah, that's what the week would look like. You'd get lunch. It was all about like, you had to be out. They called it the grinder, which was the outdoor workout area. You'd have to be out there by like 5:20. Everything just had to be super particular. You had to have your camel pack laid out a certain direction. You had to be standing, with your arms at your side in a certain way. You just get demolished if you're doing anything wrong. They're just looking to break you down the entire time.
Well, how important? I mean, do you think it's because when I hear you saying that, I hear standards.
Yeah.
Which, like I said at the start of this effing podcast, like we're having issues on job sites, and when I hear like everything is done the exact same, I'm like, yeah, that's how Empowered Electric needs to operate.
Right.
Every employee needs to be at the job box at 7:00 in the morning with their hands down and their tool bags on the exact same way. Which, of course, I'm kind of jesting, but when I hear that, was it just that they knew what it took to be a good rescue swimmer, and they expected these standards, or is some of it just a manipulation control game?
Definitely in the beginning, a lot of manipulation. I think as they thin out the crowd, it becomes more about meeting the standards, but then it's also group standards, which make it hard because you're working in a group of 10 and everyone's having to look the exact same way or do the exact same thing. And if one of you messes up, then the whole class gets beat, So a lot of it is, making sure your shipmates are following suit with you. So you can't just worry about yourself. If it was just, go in, worry about yourself, it might not be as hard as a school, but you're having to take the class into account.
Because I feel, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Matt? I mean, dude, when I hear that, I'm like, man, that sounds great. Like, the more standardized things could be, the more like we all knew what each other were capable of and what to expect. It just seems like things would go so great. I don't know. Am I wrong in thinking that? Because
I don't know. My dad was in the military, was in the Air Force, and I remember being young and him being like, "Go clean your room." And I'm like, "All right, clean my room." And then he'd come in with like a white glove. And
Oh
like,
my gosh.
And like do the top of the door that I couldn't even reach yet. I'm just like, this is whack. Like, so I don't know. I think the standards are there, like, are like extreme,
right?
You know, pretty extreme. I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, so are there any of those things? I guess the reason I'm getting that is, you know, for anyone that knows Brennan, I can describe him to you. Go to, is Hollister still around?
Oh my gosh.
I would go to Hollister.
I think it's an online store.
Oh,
still.
man. So Abercrombie and Fitch, is that a store still?
Yeah, definitely. Our
Go
nephews
to
were wearing
some
it.
teeny bopper high school super sexy store and undress a guy mannequin, and that's what Brennan looks like. The dude is jacked out of this world, and I just think some of that, right?
You're the dude in the bottle of Fierce or whatever it is.
Dude, he's a straight cologne commercial, and I just for some reason I'm just thinking Hollister, bro. I feel like they had the mannequins that didn't have the shirts on when you walked into the store, man. And I just think standards and like kind of pushing yourself and knowing what to expect probably carried over even after rescue swimmer school stopped.
Right, definitely. And I didn't see it during the time, but all these, boot camp, rescue swimmer school, like being on the boat, working hard, they were all teaching me things that built me into the person I am. And it's all, you never see it, until you're across the finish line. And so that's why with rescue swimmer school not making it through, I felt like rescue swimmer school was a failure because I didn't make it to that finish line. And so it took me years to realize how much it taught me. And really, I mean, that was in 2014 that I started rescue swimmer school. Really just within the last 2 years, it's really been like revealed like, oh, that changed me a lot and for the better. And it's probably better that I didn't make it through because, I definitely would have had a lot more pride and, it's just like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
it's a
we learned
status.
so much. I was thinking about it even before we hit the podcast. I mean, I'm like, dude, everybody I know that says that I've heard say they're the man or they're an alpha or they're the best are the worst.
Totally.
Like they're terrible.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell who an alpha is not by who says they are. And so I'd love to hear you just talk about that a little bit. So you would say boot camp was a conversion moment,
right?
And boot camp was a conversion moment.
Boot camp is swimmer school,
boot camp was a success. Swimmer school was not. So just talk about that a little bit. Cause I knew, I mean, you tried multiple times, right?
So basically what happened was, I went to school I started in November 2014. I made it till January 2015, and we were down to, I believe, 6 or 7 guys left out of the 22 or so that we started with. And I was really feeling good about where I was. Once you put because the beginning of school you're not wearing fins basically, and then once you put the fins on, it kind of levels the playing field. So I was building some confidence. And then one day, we were training, we were doing this underwater drill. So we'd have to hold our breath for a ridiculous amount of time, swim laps like
What's
underwater
a ridiculous
or whatever.
amount of time?
I mean, they didn't time us, but so here's the thing, like training for school, they would say you'd have to do a lap. So if I say to you, you have to do a lap underwater, what are you thinking? Like a length of a pool. How do you think? You just push off the bottom.
Yeah,
push off the bottom and go to the other side, touch the other side, be coming up maybe a little early.
Yeah.
No, the standards are ridiculous. There they have a ledge. So you get no kickoff. You have to be treading water. They say go. You dive down. You have to swim along the bottom the whole time. On the other side, there's this ledge. You have to swim up and around and then touch the bottom corner and then surface perfectly with your hand overhead, maintaining composure when you're coming, So it's like...
He said that before or heard that before.
Yeah.
Maintaining composure.
Right. And because it's like you're training the pool, you push off, you get you get going, you do a couple strokes, and then you're like almost there and you just pop up and you're just like... breathing for it. It's like there's none of that in school. So even training for it, people aren't ready, and that got a lot of people. So anyway, like that's just one example. Another example is buddy brick, where you hold a brick with your buddy. You push the brick from one side of the pool to the other. You have to stop at every line in the pool. and only one person can go up for a breath at a time. Someone has to maintain their grip on the brick at all times. So it's like, me and Matt are going, we push it to a line, Matt goes up, takes a breath, comes back down, I go up, take a breath, come back down, we push it to the line, and you have to really trust your buddy, because if he's up there hanging out and catching a couple breaths, like, you're screwed, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of stuff like that. So anyway, the drill we were doing, we had the instructors would throw our mask on the other side of the pool. We had to swim underwater, basically not having any vision at all, find our mask, put our mask on, maintain a breath, and clear our mask with our breath. Basically, you'd look up towards the ceiling while you're underwater, and you breathe out your nose, and it would clear your mask. I was having a hard time doing it. I couldn't hold enough water, or I couldn't hold enough air in my lungs swimming under, and something didn't feel right. And so I'd come up, and the instructor would be right there in the water in my face, just screaming at me, "Go back down, your mask isn't clear." I'd still have water in my mask, so I'd have to drop my mask, do it again. And I probably went up and down like 5 times, and I literally like blacked out while I was doing it, and just like felt like I was going to die. That's the last thing I remember. I get pulled out of the pool, passed out, get pulled out of the pool by the instructor, kind of come to, just looking up into the sky at my instructor's face, and I'm just throwing up blood everywhere. Like, my shirt's covered in blood. One of the instructors is like running across the deck saying like, "Please don't die." Like, these are stories that like my fellow, shipmates or airmen at the time, reported to me afterward. Like, my buddy was like, "Bro, they were like saying, 'Please don't die.'" Like, and so it was kind of crazy. I got rushed to the ER. And looking back at it now, I know that it was like a free diver incident called squeeze, where it's basically the altitude change, because there's a 12-foot pool, so it's just going up and down too fast. But I wanted to graduate so bad, I would rather die than fail out or go and ring that bell. Like, I just wanted it so bad. I thought that was my calling in life, and I thought it was the most important thing to me. And so I kind of manipulated my way and was able to come back to school the next week, which shouldn't have happened. They should have let my lungs heal. I convinced like the doctor that it was like a really bad nosebleed and this and that. And like, I have no idea why they let me back, but anyway, they did. And anytime we do underwater training, I just felt like my lungs weren't right. And a couple times I would spit blood on my shirt. Like, I would my lungs would be acting up, and we'd be standing there and I'd spit blood. And one time the instructor saw me, he's like, "You spitting blood?" And I'm like, no, I'm good. And so anyway, that goes on. We have Christmas break. I catch bronchitis like really bad because my lungs hadn't healed, and it was super cold, and I was just pushing to the max. Anyway, we come back and we have a test where we have to tow one of the instructors. I'm towing the instructor. I pass out and start spitting up blood again. Basically they're like, "You're done." Like, they sent me to the ID office on base, and I'm making ID cards. The whole while I'm making ID cards, I'm thinking, I'm still going to make it through school. Like, they're going to let me back, and I'm still going to make it through school. They hadn't said no indefinitely yet. They said I just had to get cleared by medical. So, weeks turn into months turn into a year turns into a year and a half. I'm fighting the whole time. I'm having my swimmer friends write letters telling them how good a swimmer I am, how I'm training with them out in the ocean, training with them in the pool. Every day I was just like having the mentality, like, tomorrow they might call me and they might be like, "Hey, you're clear. You're in the next class." So just training hard. And it was not a good mental state to be in. Like, I probably put Indy through hell during that period, because it was the only thing that mattered to me. A year and a half later, after making ID cards for that long, training every day, I get a letter, and it basically says, I'm DQ'd from aviation and can't go any aviation rates. So my dreams were just crushed. I can probably count the amount of times I've cried on my hands, but I was just like, went out to my car just bawling, because I just like had put so much effort into that. So that was like my second rock bottom, after high school, being the first. And this was my second rock bottom. Also, during that time, while I'm in the ID card office, we find out Indy's pregnant. So I'm just like, my whole world is shook right now.
With baby number 2.
Yeah. No, baby 1, Ari. It was Ari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Ari. Yeah, so my whole world is shook, and I'm like, where do I go from here? I literally had nothing left. I thought my calling was, my number one dream was just in the trash, and not to like Jesus juke this conversation and kind of, throw faith into it. But like that, I have to, because it's the only thing. We started going to church a little more. We had always had a Christian background and stuff, but like it never really pursued faith. But I was like kind of just like this. I have nothing else. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. And we started like volunteering with youth and stuff. And that's really kind of what changed my perspective on what I was meant to do. I was like kind of started looking at it more like, hey, what's God's plan for me instead of what's Brennan's plan for me. And that's really where things changed.
Yeah. And I mean, you jump forward, and I feel like that's a humongous leap. And, thanks for sharing that, dude. I mean, I see you getting teared up. I know it's an emotional thing. And I mean, well, and I'm not trying to joke around about that.
Yeah.
No, dude, I think there's a lot of people right now. I just saw yesterday 5 more businesses closing in Kansas City. I mean, I think the total's up over 900 right now. Like, I think there's definitely people today that have gone to their restaurant, their office, their whatever it is, this business that they have poured everything into, and they've locked the doors for the last time. Like it's all over. And I feel like a lot of people have experienced that, just kind of what you're feeling like, dude, this is what I thought I was meant for. And whether it's religious or not, like this is what I thought the calling on my life was meant to be. And so there's a lot of listeners guaranteed that maybe even see that on the horizon. They know. I was talking to a business owner just the other day. One of the largest business owners I know that was like, you don't understand. We literally have $8,000 a week in the bank, which just covers payroll for that week.
Right.
Like we are barely hanging on. And so I know that you said like your faith helped you a ton, but like maybe just hang out there for a little bit and just talk about that more, because like you're crying in your car. Like, what did it look like when you went home? Like, how did Indy respond? Like, I mean, I doubt that happened on a Saturday night and you went to church Sunday morning and everything was better,
No, totally not. And it's always a journey. Like all these, I call them mini conversions, but they're always a journey. It's not like one, you go to bed one night and wake up different the next day. But it did change things. It changed my perspective pretty quickly. I started to realize how I had been neglecting my family, and it kind of forced me to look at what my values were and what was important to me. And at the time, that was the career that I thought was my purpose. And I can resonate with all the business owners going through, because I like literally poured my heart and soul, blood, sweat, tears into making it through swimmer school. Like when I was training for that year and a half, it was every day going to the pool. Like it was my life. We canceled family trips. We did, everything was around my training. So I guess like if I had ask your question again, what's the question?
Well, my question is just to think through that. So, I mean, you kind of hit on it a little bit where, cause that's, I'm making this equation too, especially with guys, which I'm not trying to like diminish girls and women business owners that I know you're badasses out there, but I think there's a lot of guys that have put their heart,
like athletes
everything into their career.
Right.
And they see it all pulled away for, a reason. You're passing out underwater, coughing up blood, like you can't, it's not like, hey, you're a loser. It's like, bro, you're gonna die.
Right.
And it's not because you're weak. It's just we're all frail and we're all limited. And so just thinking like how you got through it, what were the conversations you had? You hit on, I had to really kind of think back to my priorities.
Right.
I mean, that's step one.
That didn't happen right away either, because I fought to get back to school for a long time. And I think athlete, like, because you have people telling you like never give up.
Like David Goggins.
Right.
Goggins is like, my feet are broke. This is the third time
exactly.
I'm running.
And you hear about the athletes like, on their third tryout or whatever, they finally made it. And those are like few and far between though, And so for the 2 years after getting injured, after getting that letter, I was still fighting. Like I was still fighting to get back. Like I would have dreams, that they'd call me up and be like, hey, we have a spot, let's go. You ready? And so like I was still fighting to get back. I was still fighting with medical officers. So I didn't accept, and I don't think you have to accept the failure right away, but understand that the failure might be a building block to what is really in store for you. And if you look at it as a failure, then you're not going to learn anything.
Yeah. One thing I remember, just being real, and I haven't talked a lot about it on the podcast. I've hinted towards it a little bit, but we were in a lawsuit basically since month 4 of Empowered Electric, bro. Like literally like month 4, project went bad, was tied up in a lawsuit. And it wasn't like I was like showing up every day to court. I mean, it was like a drawn out thing, but it was literally for the first 5 years of Empowered Electric. This lawsuit was looming over my head that kind of always, had the possibility of completely bankrupting us. And I mean, there would be days or weeks where I'd talk to the lawyer and I'd think, man, everything I worked for is gone. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's all going to come crumbling down. And it was like super hard. And I listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and I don't remember who he was interviewing. And it's a pretty good podcast. It's not better than the Empowered People podcast, but it's pretty good.
No, not nearly.
And he was way too girlish when he and fanboyish whenever he interviewed LeBron. I would ask LeBron the tough questions. I would be real with him.
What you do with your hair, bro?
But no, he said anytime there's like this life-altering thing, this tragedy that's either happened or looming on the horizon, ask yourself and let yourself go to the worst possible place. And so I remember like one day literally going, okay, and dude, it's so funny because I remember Bridget's reaction. I'm like, okay, let's say right now I get a call that says, hey, the lawsuit's all coming down on you. Insurance isn't going to cover it. Empowered Electric's over. And I got to call every single person. I visualized calling every single person and saying, hey, dude, it's all over. We're fired. And I thought through all those conversations, and I'm like, okay. And then we're bankrupt. They come after our house. We get evicted. And I kind of just kept going. And it ended with, I move into your dad's house. I'm like, okay, so we have to like move all the kids, and we move in with grandpa.
That was worse of the worst case.
Well, so here's what's funny is we say all that. And I mean, dude, he's got like 40 acres. It's like a decent house. I mean, it's not great, but it's like whatever. And I'm like, okay, so that's rock bottom. Like we hit there. Dude, I still have my family. We still have our health. Like,
right.
We've got to start over. I got to go get a job, and we living with grandpa. And Bridget was like, oh, hell no. But for me, it took me to the place to go, I can rebuild. And I think what's so scary about your story, and that's why I want to kind of transition now, is a lot of people, whether they're locking the door tonight or whatever it is, they think this is the end. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all over. There's no rebuilding from now. But, like, I mean, you're happy, you're successful, you're growing. So like that shifts a lot through your faith, a lot through goal prioritization. Right. But like, what's going on now? Like, talk about post swimmer school. Like, you accept that you're never going to be a rescue swimmer. Right. You're going to be a Coast Guard guy making driver's license. You don't make those anymore. But kind of where does that transition happen?
Okay. When did I accept it? I guess I accepted it when I started seeing what I learned from swimmer school play into my everyday life, like the mental fortitude that it gave me, and what it taught me about fitness is directly impacting who I am now and what I'm doing now. And it's I guess along the way I didn't really see it. It's really just been within the last year that I've accepted like it as being a not a failure. It's funny, I met this other rescue swimmer, and he was telling me how unfulfilled he was as a swimmer, and he got out of the Coast Guard and then went and tried to be like a movie star in LA and made it in a couple like Netflix films, and then he was still unfulfilled. And then he like came full circle and moved back home to his hometown and became a youth pastor. And he's like, I'm the happiest dude ever. And it's like, dude, this dude was in Netflix movies. He was a freaking rescue swimmer, which is like the baddest of the bad, you know what I mean? And like, and then that's what, so you have to like, I had to do some like introspective, like soul searching of like what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be and what my values were. And what you were saying similarly to what you were saying about you guys, worst case scenario, Indy would do that with me. And I would be like, I'm always going to be happy if I still have my family. As long as my family still likes me, like I'm always still going to be good. So I guess like just coming to grips with that and understanding like, I don't, because failure, I think like it's embarrassing, you know what I mean? And it was embarrassing, and I was really embarrassed for years talking, because there were so many people that sent me letters and would text me motivational quotes every day. And to have to accept it as a failure was so embarrassing, you know, and to tell people like, I'm just not going to, because even today, like I felt the embarrassment rise a little bit. Matt asked me like if I was, you know, jumping out of helicopters, and I'm like, no, bro, I never got to do that. Like, you know, but I'm like, I'm happy with that now. Like, no, you just feel it creeping in. Matt's making a face, but I'm like, you feel it creep up just because it's my, it's like PTSD to that question because I got it so much. Like whatever happened to summer school, like, you know, and, so it took like years of accepting that. I wish I could go back and tell 25-year-old Brennan, like, you know, it's not, you're not a failure. You know, you're not a failure because this didn't work out. This just wasn't in the cards for you, and you're going to grow into a better person because of it.
Well, and like we were talking earlier, you know, I've just been really big on every single one of your goals is a mile marker, not a finish line.
Yes, yeah.
And like that's even true too, is like it's funny to think back to the marathon I ran, is like not all miles are the same pace.
Right.
Like I remember mile 20, I cramped bad and it was like my worst pace, like mile 20 to 21. My fastest mile was mile 26. I don't know if it was like the Gatorade splash at the end or what, but like I was able to run. And so it's like, it's funny to know like, hey man, this season of your life, this mile, and you're right. It really sucked. You cramped, you took the wrong turn, you rolled your ankle, like shit's really bad right now.
Right.
But it's not going to stay there. Like you've got to keep moving forward. And I think what was the bigger goal for you? Like when it switched, like kind of, I mean, I know you're not just making ID cards again. Like what was it like that kind of like drew your interest and drew your passion
to
this next phase?
Yeah, it was because like I said in the beginning, the whole goal was to help people and to say, like at the time I thought it was to physically save people's lives. And I always said like, God gave me my physical ability so I could do something with it. Like that's what I told Indy.
Such a two statement right there.
So that's what I would tell Indy. So I'm like, this is my purpose in life. And it wasn't until I had the perspective shift of it didn't have to be in the way I saw of saving lives. It could be like right now people are going through a really hard time, like, you know, with COVID, with the social climate, it's just really tough. And so I basically like wanted to start helping people overcome like the mental state they're in. And I've been like, you know, now I'm a CrossFit coach and stuff, and I'm personal training and I'm doing things for people and helping them, and I think impacting their lives, but it doesn't get like the same glory as Rescue Swimmer would get. You know what I mean? But I'm happy with it, and it brings me such fulfillment, and my family is happy with me doing it. It's probably I'm really grateful for where I'm at basically, and I'm really grateful for swimmer school helping me get to that point.
Yeah, well, and because I can only imagine, I mean, as we were doing the workouts, we're doing regular pull-ups. This dude's doing ring muscle-ups, which if you don't know what that is, it's pull-ups with a ring above the rings and then dipping up. It's just ridiculous, and we're like struggling to do pull-ups. And so, yeah, I can only imagine you're like, yo, dude, I've been freaking out of breath underwater, out of breath on land, ain't nothing. And just helping people think kind of bigger and stronger. And so, I mean, is that a diverting passion for you? Like, is that something that you're going to be able to do while in the Coast Guard, or is it something that's going to kind of pull you out? Because I know I don't know how the military works. Do you sign up for a year at a time or 10 years at a time? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's usually, you know, you sign like a 4 to 6 year contract when you're coming in, and then you can extend from anywhere for a year or whatever. So I did 2 enlistments and then a 2-year extension, and so I'm coming up on 10 years. So my plan is to get out this summer, and I'm just going to pursue. I'm trying to fill my, you know, arsenal with the tools it takes to help people reach their full potential, is what I like to say. So physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it may be. So I got my CrossFit coaching certification. I'm going through a mindfulness coaching instructor course. I'm working on my nutrition game. I'm going to go to college next year and study counseling. And I just want to be as like multifaceted as I can be in order to help people, you know, achieve what they're meant to do and help them realize that, you know, because it's most people are their own biggest critic, as you know, as we say. And I hate seeing that weigh on people and them tell themselves self-fulfilling prophecies about themselves that doesn't allow them to reach their full potential. And so if I can just give a glimmer of hope, or even like in the CrossFit world, we say, be the best hour of that person's day. So I don't know. I want to be able to do that for people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, the word potential is such a what?
Nothing.
What are you doing? Why are you flipping me off right now?
No, you guys Matt gave me a hand signal, you gave me a hand signal, and I was like,
I wasn't giving a hand signal. I freaking did the sign language version of P to remind myself the word P is what I want to ask you about potential.
Yeah.
That's the Michael Scott freaking memory trick right there. Sorry that it distracted you. It's for me. No, the reason what I was wanting to ask you is potential is this word that's like a double-edged sword, right? Because if I say, hey, you have so much potential, what I mean is you're falling way short. Like if I go, dude, your potential is way greater than you currently are. Some people take that and they go, dang, I'm falling that short. Like I'm not good enough. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like they're like, take it kind of as a negative thing. Like what you're saying, future me is better. And you're like, yes.
Yeah,
isn't that
always
the life,
should be, right?
Isn't that the life you want to live?
Yeah.
That next year you is better than this year you? Like, I don't know about you, but I always want next year me to be better, or tomorrow me, or whatever it is. And so potential is so important. And I just think, man, it's hard for people to realize. And it's even like why we started the podcast. It's like, dude, it's transitioned so much over the last couple years, which is crazy to think about that we've been doing this for 2 years. Is like the audio quality, the editing ability, the show notes. We still don't have links.
Matt's confidence has grown so much.
Matt's
from
confidence,
episode
dude.
1.
The little bit that like Matt's been in the office doing estimator, like guys, like dude, you want your potential to be massively outweighing your quality that you are right now. Like, but it means like in my case, we fail a lot of inspections. In my case, it means that we fall short. It means like that there's so many things that we mess up on a daily basis that we know that we can get better at. And if you don't have better potential, if you don't get people to realize like, hey, you're not the best version of yourself. Don't you want to be?
Right.
That's tough. And it almost does seem, it's like, it almost starts as mental, or is it emotional, or is it physical? Like where does it start?
I think, like I mentioned, self-fulfilling prophecies, I believe it starts there with a lot of people, them telling themselves, I'm too old for this. I'm too out of shape for this. I'm too dumb to go on and do this. So a lot of it starts there. And then, a lot of it does start emotionally too, with just having hurt in their past, or being told that they're not able to achieve the things they want to achieve. And so it starts there, but then it builds. And if nobody interjects, or if they don't learn how to overcome that, then it's just a destructive path to be on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's like, dude, man, this is something. So I'm super excited for you to continue to talk about this, but it's almost like as we're talking, it's like, dude, your emotional baggage is like a lagging injury,
right?
Like whether you rolled your ankle, you tweaked your back, like whatever it is. If we're talking about physical, if you've gone into the gym and you know that you have like this nagging injury, it's almost like that's the emotional thing. Like mental is like, bro, you just don't have the confidence. You don't know what to do. Like you don't know how to use that equipment. Like, dude, remember the first time we went into One Life Fitness, Matt referred to himself as my little Pikachu. He would just follow me around. And like one time, dude, we were doing pull-ups and he like went to do the pull-up machine, and like a girl like walked up at the same time, and they had this like awkward stare down of like who was going to back down from the pull-up machine.
So I just punched her and then took it.
No, but dude, now he's rocking out pull-ups.
Right.
Like, but I'm just saying, like, there's like this mental, like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
That like people usually want to start with like the physical, like, okay, what do I do?
Right.
And it's like, no, you got to heal up and you got to get the knowledge first before you ever step foot in the gym.
Totally.
And it's like people just want to do the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would contradict you there a little bit. You can take the step and be in the gym. You know what I mean? But you need to understand it's not just working on the physical that's going to get you to where you want to be. But taking that step is partly mental, because a lot of people are scared or intimidated or don't think they have what it takes. So taking that step is a step mentally as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And
the best place to learn is by doing.
Yes.
Like, that's the quote of Propaganda song. He's like, he's like, hey, did your mom teach you to do the dishes by a written test? Or did she pull a chair up to the sink and said, watch how I do it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, you're right. You got to get in, whether it's like, growing like professionally or relationally.
Right.
Like, I mean, you got to be able to have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
So is that what you're kind of thinking? Like, you're going to be a life coach?
Almost? I don't have the full vision of what it's going to look like. I've seen glimpses. I really like what like Laird Hamilton's one of my heroes. He has XPT, like which is a camp that he hosts. It's like a 1 week all inclusive. You go, you eat healthy, you do ice baths, saunas, you do meditation, you do workouts in the pool, and so like that's kind of like what my vision for the future is. Just helping. It all started. Me and Indy volunteer at a youth camp, and it's religion based, and so they have sermons and songs and whatnot, and kids will have like what religious term or whatever, like a spiritual encounter or something, it's something that a life-changing moment where they want to change their life, and then you go back to high school or middle school or whatever, and you're back into the grind, you're back into seeking approval. And you didn't really learn anything at that camp that you could take with you and practically apply to your life to help you be better. So what I want to do is I want to give people tools that they can implement in their life and have a lifestyle change. One of my big things is like, I don't recommend diets. Like, I do some nutrition coaching, and diets are dumb. Like, I think, because you do the diet and like Whole30, like it's a cool diet and all, but day 31, you're eating everything in sight, or you're drinking everything in sight. Like, I want to help people change their lifestyle so they can take it with them and not need me forever, and be 70 and be able to play with their kids, and the same mentally. Like, I want to teach them to have the mental fortitude. And I'm not like, tooting my own horn. Like, I don't have it all figured out now, but I have been able, like, I have seen the impact I've had on people's lives, and I just want to have a bigger and bigger and bigger impact and watch it grow. So I like your question with like what it's going to look like. I'm not sure. I'm just enjoying the journey right now. And right now what it looks for me is, I'm coaching at a CrossFit gym, which is like so much fun for me, like being able to just be, the best part of people's day and teach them something. And then I started a business called Host Fitness. We called it Host because me and my wife Indy's passion is hosting people at her home, and we just wanted that to be kind of the core value of what all welcome, all inclusive fitness. And so with that company, I'm doing nutrition and fitness programming, and it's been really fulfilling for me to see people grow. And a lot of times all people need is just that nudge, or someone telling them they can do it, or the two most common words used are consistency and accountability. And people need someone to hold them accountable to consistently do what they're trying to improve. And the diet word and the all the different this 30-day pull-up challenge, like those aren't set up for lifestyle. Those are set up to help people get to where they want to be quick, and then they kind of fall off. And my goal is to help people change their life.
Well, dude, I mean, if anybody that knows you or has seen your life knows that you have a lot to offer. You have a great relationship with your wife, great relationship with your kids. Mentally, you're a freaking baller. I think we played a game when someone said, describe Brennan in one word, and people said mindful. So, mentally helping people, emotionally, physically, what the F? Like, of course you have a lot to offer people. So I could just see this being such a huge thing and not a gimmick. And just even at the Coast Guard, I know that you didn't finish rescue swimmer school, but it was like you've excelled in every brand or every, job that you've been given, and you've just really killed it. So, there needs to be more coaches like you out there. And I just want to, kind of wrap it up, just with one of the things you said is just like nudging people to their potential, like nudging people. That's what people need. That's what this podcast has always been. Cause I'm always like, hey man, there's way more. I was thinking about it this freaking morning. I was like, dude, cause I'm just very keenly aware because I grew my business while I was hiring people and casting vision and selling jobs. Just, I was so aware of this lawsuit that could could have crippled our company completely. And so as I see people, going out of business and closing up shop, and I'm like, man, there are way smarter people out there that are failing. There are way stronger people. There are way more skilled people that are failing. And it's just this, it bums me out, honestly, but it's like the reason we started this podcast was to let people know, hey man, like you don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the most skilled. You don't need to be the most energetic. You don't need to be me. What you need to do is believe in yourself and give it a freaking shot. And
right.
I think everyone that is employed here at Empowered Electric right now is super thankful. Everybody that is listening to the Empowered People is glad that I didn't give up, that I didn't stop believing in myself. And it's like this podcast every single week when we show up and we record podcasts, and some are great and some aren't the best. So, we haven't done interviews in a while. I'm so thankful that we jumped on here with you and made time for this, because it's like people need to believe in themselves a little bit more.
Right.
And maybe you're not going to be a rescue swimmer. Maybe you're not going to be a superhero. Maybe you're not going to be an astronaut and go to outer space and all that kind of stuff, but that's okay. Like it's through pursuing these great and lofty dreams that you find where your true passion is, where your true calling is, where you truly can be happy.
Right.
And like, if
and it doesn't have to be in an occupation that, you know what I mean? That's something 100%. Else I learned through the process. Like before I started the business and CrossFit coaching, something I had to learn was like my passion doesn't necessarily have to, transfer over to my occupation. And luckily, like now after 6 years since rescue swimmer school, it's starting to line up. But for those 6 years, I was just grinding. I was making ID cards. Now I'm a marine science technician, freaking inspecting boats for pollution. Like I do not care about it at all. But I found avenues to display like my passions in other areas. I started volunteering with youth at the church. I started, working out and pursuing like CrossFit coaching on the side. I started hosting like mindfulness events at the Coast Guard base. And like, I kind of just like created, like, I'm kind of known at the base, like to not do my real job and kind of just like be there for everybody. Like I playing dodgeball events and like host like basketball tournaments. And I'm always like the connection for, all the schools in the area and volunteering with the schools. Yeah. And so like, it's like you can get out of your comfort zone in your job. Like don't let your occupation define you, especially if it's not one you're passionate about, and then just accept the process. Cause you might just have to grind it out in that job for a little bit until you build up. And I hear you talk about this a lot, Josh, but like build up your resume in the areas that you want to be. Like you can't just have a passion and expect it to happen. Like it's literally been like 6 years of me like grinding in the fitness area, in the nutrition, like podcast on podcast about nutrition, like, mindfulness, like courses on mindfulness courses. And like, and now it's finally coming true, to where I can have it as an occupation.
Dude, that's so good. A 6-year grind. Yeah. People try to set these goals to be achieved in no time. And it's like, man, dude, I just know when I started to become an electrician at, 20 years old, by 30, starting a company, by 35, it functioning kind of well. It's like, that would have seemed like, man, that's half my life. Like actually, no, that's more. I mean, that's 75% of the years I've lived. You're saying I'm going to live to get to where I could be proud to be. Holy crap.
Right.
That's a crazy thought.
But you accepted you maintained a healthy relationship with your wife. You poured into your kids. You have a community. You were doing those things along the way. The grind doesn't have to necessarily all be negative.
100%. Oh, 100%. No, the grind. Yeah. If the grind, there's some word. I mean, we should think through that and post this is greater than this on LinkedIn for what you're talking about, baby. Because there's something about like, it needs to hurt, but not be painful.
Yeah.
Like everything worth doing should hurt, but there's a difference between, hey, this is pushing my limits or this is injuring me. There's a huge difference between that.
Yeah. And there's so many avenues that we can go down with that, with boundaries or just taking your health into account, like while you're grinding. But yeah.
Well, dude, we could talk forever. I kind of want to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions that we haven't done in a while, but I think
I was bringing it back because it's my favorite part of everyone's, like Ben Bergeron, Tim Ferriss. When you guys do it, I'm always like the rapid fire questions.
Dude, it's so funny.
That's
like when we sat down, dude, he brought out a freaking like leather moleskin journal that was like, you know, just filled to the brim. And he was like, oh, we're doing rapid fire questions, right? And I was like, oh, we haven't done those in a while. And he's like, yeah, no, we're doing them.
I don't have them prepared. The journal is just for my.
No.
I don't even know what you guys are gonna ask.
He knew he came on this trip for a podcast. But like, so what's a recent purchase that you've made under $100 recently that you would suggest other people should have to make?
Dude, my freaking planner journal. It's like a Planner Pro. I got it on Amazon. They're like $25, but it has a monthly calendar, a weekly calendar. It has goal setting. It has a journal area in the back, but it has changed my life because I've just been realizing lately that, you know, if you don't, I think Greg McCown says it, essentialism. He's like, if you don't prioritize your day, somebody else will, or something along those lines.
It's so true.
And so if you just like go into the day unmindfully, like you cannot expect it to turn out the way you want it. And so like I've really become, because I used to just like, it was kind of funny. Indy was always a planner and I was always like, go with the flow. And I thought that was like the cool thing to do, like go with the flow. But this thing has really changed my life because I have like my days planned out and it allows me to have like scheduled time with my girls and stuff like that. Whereas before I might let work or, you know, when I was in school, like trickle into time that I should be playing with them. But when you're scheduled, like you know, you don't let that go.
Yeah, no, it's so good. I'm kind of the loosey-goosey, go with the flow.
I know. I want to get Josh on it.
Matt's the real scheduled person that gets really pissed at me if I don't work out exactly at 11:45 every day. Because this dude will slam some pre-workout, and then when I don't show up in workout clothes, he's like scratching his face and sweating in his fingers.
It's not in my nature to be like scheduled. I had to really work at it, but I just see I see that being a reoccurring theme in successful people.
No,
you know,
for sure.
having that, and as I am programming fitness for people, if they don't have a set time every day to do it, they're going to fail. You know, if they're just like going throughout their day and they're like, hey, whenever I get time, you're not going to get time. You know what I mean? There's always going to be something. And it's the things that are least important to you that are going to get put on the back burner. And when people first getting into fitness, that's usually on the back burner. So that's something I stress. Like you have to pick a time of the day.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I 100% agree. So you can buy that for me for Christmas.
Okay.
Second question is, what is something you're currently watching, listening to, or reading?
Oh my God.
It has to be one. It can't be all three. What? Listening?
Are you serious?
Watching?
I can't have my multiple.
You can. It's fine. It sounded cool when I said it.
Reading. Okay. Currently I'm reading Dune, the fiction novel. So I'm always reading two books. I'm always reading a novel and a nonfiction just so I can switch it up, like do the novel at night or whatever. And then the nonfiction I'm reading is we were just talking about it. What was it? The Daily Stoic guy. What did he write?
I don't know what he wrote.
Stillness is key.
Ryan Holiday?
Yeah, Ryan Holiday. Stillness is key. So those two.
Yeah, no, I just suggested The Obstacle is the Way to Paul, my business partner. Dude, sorry, not to one-up that book that you just said, Stillness is Key, but The Obstacle is the Way you can listen to in 6 hours.
Yeah.
That is less than one work day. So especially if you have a physical job where you're kind of tediously doing your thing all day and you can kind of hit autopilot, you can listen to that entire book in one day, and it is 100% worth it.
Well, I thought we were saying, your question was, what are we currently? Because if we're trying to one-up with best book, we got sitting on the desk right here, Essentialism. Everyone needs to read that. Everyone.
Well, and I'm glad you said a fiction book because I'm reading Tom Sawyer at night right now.
It's good to turn the brain off, especially for us, like how we're wired.
Well, and I think there's just something
learning.
So good and beneficial about like reading creative stories.
Right.
Like there's things that you can get out of some. I read recently this Stephen King book called The Dark Tower. And one of the most eventful scenes, I know this is going to sound super goofy, but this guy, to become a man, he's got to fight his teacher, and they're gunslingers. It's like this knight meets science fiction cowboy people, right?
Right.
And so his weapon that he picks is this hawk, like a bird. Oh, right. And this dude is like, you're an idiot, right? And he comes at him with this big stick. And long story short, he beats the crap out